One. I am going to do Journal 58 today. The last two, 56 and 57, they were like thoracically heavy. And I want to do a lighthearted one now just to, stop all that. Um, so the lightest hearted topic I could think of that I'm willing to talk about is D&D. And so I'll tell the story of my first encounter with it. I was not young. The first time I ever played, I was like not a kid. And there's so many reasons why I didn't play as a kid. Like probably most of them. It's just like I was busy. I got my first under the table job at 13. And under the table, I don't mean like mowing lawns, right? And then I got my first over the table job at 14, 15, something like that. And I just worked clear through high school. There was one point in high school where like my friend Sid and I were on two different baseball teams at the same time, the high school team and another one. And then on top of that, I was working. And like on top of that, we were in school. And so I was just like, I was busy. But then when I wasn't busy, like I was a tired kid. I was just like, I was occupied most of the time. And so during my downtime, things I hoped they wouldn't take too much mental power. And so D&D was one thing that I did. Like I nurtured a lot of nerdiness when I was like, so Magic the Gathering, that's in the same ballpark. And I started playing that when I was, it was when third edition revised came out, if anyone knows what that means. It was actually the fourth set. So like alpha, beta, unlimited, third edition. I don't know. But so that was April 94. And I was 13 and I was working. And so I bought I had so much money back then because what were my bills? I was a 13-year-old with like a pretty good amount of income. And so I bought so many of those starter boxes, those like starter decks, 60 card decks, that I wound up with a play set, meaning 4 of each, of every dual land, if anyone knows what that means, right? I wish I had held on to them. I ended up having to sell them when I was 20 something, 25, whatever. 22, I don't know, when I was 20 something, early half of the, first, that decade, for rent, like I was a college student then. And I had to pay for like rent and food and tuition and whatever. And so I ended up parting with that. And I was like, even busier then. But then also, so like the reason that I chose Magic and I didn't choose D&D, I had to draw a line somewhere for nerdiness. And D&D always felt like that I had this point of no return mentality until one day I finally crossed that line. And I'll tell that story now in today's journal, Journal 58. Journal 58, Saturday, August 5th, 2023, Dungeons, Dragons, and Arvics. Hi, everyone. In journals 19 and 34, I reference D&D. Between then and now, I've been asked if I play D&D, whether any of my story comes from a campaign, and if so, how much, and so on. The first time I ever played, I was 40. My childhood best friend and best man at my wedding, which I think means adult best friend, turned 40 a couple of months after me. I called him on his birthday. After a brief chat about old times and a longer chat about new times, he invited me to join his D&D group. I voiced some reluctance. I have no idea how to play, etc. It's mostly just storytelling and dice rolling, he said. Pretty casual, he assured me. All right, let me ask Marie. Wanu? I asked my soon-to-be wife. She did, but she voiced some reluctance. I have no idea how to play, etc. It's mostly just storytelling and dice rolling, I said. Pretty casual, I assured her. She was sufficiently assured, so I called my soon-to-be best man back and asked, how do we join? Do we get assigned characters or something? You create your own. Okay, are there rules, or can I just make up whatever, like a Malroth from Dragon Warrior 2? I was given a tutorial, more of a symposium, after which Marie and I made our characters. Hers was an Asimir rogue named Lyra. Mine was a human life cleric named Torlin. anthropomorphism of Torland, the world from Dragon Warrior 2. Then I realized there was already an official character with that name, so I renamed him. Then I realized how complicated clerical role-playing was, so I decommissioned him and made Arvik, a buckskin-clad Goliath barbarian berserker who was an acquaintance of my newly NPC'd cleric. Here's what I submitted. Arvik's background. For the 3 years Torlin, I guess it was Tolrin now. For the 3 years Tolrin spent on the Acacia farm, he literally and figuratively looked up to Arvik. Arvik no care. For 2 of those 3 years, Tolrin attempted to teach Arvik the importance of faith. Arvik no care. During their last year together, Tolrin harvested Wyson and slumberweed for the evening pipes. That make Arvik a sleeping hard. Now Arvik missed Tolrin. I had no idea what I was doing, so he died. So I made his patronymic replacement, Arvik Arvikson. His fate was no better, so I made Arvik Arvikson Jr., and then Arvik Arvikson III, who is still with us. Arvik Arvikson III's background, appearance, and personality traits. I am Arvik Arvikson III, son of Arvik Arvikson Jr., son of Arvik Arvikson, son of Arvik, who was the first in our family to slay a dragon, and in the end, he was slain by one. Between those 2 slayings, the appellation Dragon Slayer was bestowed upon him, which did not please Arvik. He detested that title and protested his reception of it. He preferred Dragon Warrior, as he considered each battle to be a small part of a larger war, and he expected that war to persist. And he was right. Generation after generation, Arvik after Arvik, each son inherited his father's burden. The townsfolk paid no heed to the warrior's wishes. They continued to anoint every new son with a Dragon Slayer title. As the Arvics were unable to escape society's designation, they resolved to escape society itself, seeking a solitary life in the mountains. Today, however, Arvik III awoke in the back of a caravan, on his way to greenest, on his way to a dragon raring to raise, on his way to fulfill his Arvician fate. His face and chest were covered in red war paint, made from goat blood. No goats were killed in the painting of Arvik's chest. Only one goat was killed in the painting of Arvik's face. Even rising from bed, Arvik appears fresh from battle and ready for it. That Arvik is currently in level 8, and he's my favorite family member so far. In creating his lineage, sons and fathers alike, I drew inspiration from a character in my book named Stirvesa. They're entirely different characters with entirely different goals, occupying entirely different worlds, but they share an appearance. If a carnival caricature artist painted their portraits, they'd be indistinguishable. And they share an arrogance. So role-playing with Arvik has made Stirvesa easier to write. But that's where the buckskin stops. Nowhere else are the 2 worlds similar, and never the twain shall meet. D&D is D&D, the fables are the fables, no muley hybrids, the pedigrees are pure. Okay, so that was journal 58. Like Marie isn't with me. I mean, like I can wave and stuff at her, but she's busy with PT school, and so she can't join me on one of these. I'm going to read in just a second. Grant's kind of with me. Can I show pictures? My best man at my wedding. So here's Grant is best manning right here. This is, I guess, shortly before the wedding. And then this one here is Grant toasting. And so this is who I called on his 40th birthday and joined his D&D group, and been doing it ever since. Okay, so I'm going to read some other introductions from earlier characters, and one of them is Marie's. I helped her, we'll get there in a sec. Horde of the Dragon Queen, that was the campaign. Arvik Arvikson Jr.'s introduction. So this is a slightly older one. On one front, Arvik Arvikson Jr. continues to wage his ancestors' war. On the other, he seeks to restore the Arvician name. His own father, Arvik Arvikson, did not handle the legacy quite as impressively as the fathers who came before. On 2 occasions, cities were sacked despite his defense. It was not for a lack of effort. Rather, it was obscene bravery that pitted Mr. Arvics alone against the horde. And one seldom prevails against the many. Still, the stories that were recorded and lyrics that were sung proclaim it was his weakness that gave those cities away for free. Thus, Arvic Jr. is on a quest to rewrite those storybooks and put new tales in the mouths of the bards. This morning, he encountered one such bard, Chiron, a singer of some renown, who appeared to be suffering from cyanosis. Chiron explained that he is seeking grander tales to accompany his already grand melodies, and Arvic promised to provide those tales. Mirella's introduction, so this is Marie's character, and she wrote it, and then I put in a little flair here and there. Mirella is an adventurous fairy who perceives impossibilities as challenges and receives challenges with open wings. One winter's day, her life changed. Mirella was away from home, exploring the high cliffs of the Gray Peak Mountains, unaware that a thickly scaled calamity was currently incinerating her home, until the scent of burning pine reached her. Mirella soared in its direction, toward the far forest, toward her home, where she found only smoke, cinder, and ash. No fairy had ever indulged a deeper rage. She set off in search of answers and vengeance, and happened upon a blue bard and a bleeding barbarian. An odd pairing, incomplete without the addition of a furious fairy. So she offered to join them. And then this is my second introduction for Arvics Jr. After Marie's. Never has any Arvic been accused of patience, kindness, or equanimity, or a welcoming temperament, or reluctance for violence. Yet, in a rare and inexplicable display of patience, kindness, equanimity, a welcoming temperament, and a reluctance for violence, this particular Arvic accepted both Mirella and Chiron into his company, and a fellowship was formed. Okay, that's it for today's. I'm going to stop. Except like D&D, like while there, if nobody's played it before, really it's just a book club. I mean, like what we need as our world gets more and more pruned of social interaction, not like scrolling and seeing what people did a while ago, but like in time, real life human interaction. I think it's important to incorporate these things. And D&D is just it's like a book club, except you write the story live, like you just make it up. So it's also like a creative writing class, I guess. But whatever your choice is for social interaction, I hope you have a rewarding group of people you can interact with in real time as that sort of social exercise and well-being. And I hope you're well-being as well. All right, bye everyone.